I can't say it any more clearly than this. It's ridiculous to buy your equipment with your cash.
Question from Micah. What metrics or benchmarks should I use to determine my equipment budget for the coming year? How much investment is advisable for acquiring new equipment, and what is a reasonable amount to allocate for ongoing equipment maintenance and upkeep?
Generally, depending on your mix of work, like maintenance, install, snow, there's a big difference in percentage of revenue, but as a rule, you're generally spending between 10 and as much as 20% of revenue on the acquisition and the maintenance of the equipment. Now, if you were kind of a all-service business doing some snow, some maintenance, some design build, maybe majority design build, you're probably going to hover in that 15% of revenue range. When we think of 15%, that doesn't go very far. And this is why I'm such a believer in leasing and using leverage to acquire equipment, as opposed to saving up all of my profit this year and then going and spending it all on some new equipment. I really like to lease new equipment and pay a reasonable payment and see it as a form of rent. Now, in some cases, I'll get it paid off and keep it for a number of years and get some free years out of it. But the reality is if it's high-use equipment, it's probably going to be worn out by the time it's paid for, and I don't really want downtime. I'll use my son's business. He's got a brand new 306 excavator, and I was shocked when I saw the hour meter was at 1,300 hours already. He just picked this machine up in May, but it's working every day. Now, he's just paying a nice little lease payment on that. In the past 6 months, he's probably paid $35,000, but he's been using that machine to go and produce $3 million worth of revenue, and that's like his biggest front-of-the-line excavator. And so I kind of say to myself, like, for $3,000 a month, if that's enabling me to be doing these massive projects, I should probably not fear making that payment. Whereas if I didn't have that machine, I couldn't even do those jobs. And so I think there's like this mindset that has to exist, and I don't see it in every landscape business owner, where if I'm in this business, I gotta have confidence to design the perfect business and then go out and leverage the right equipment, keep the monthly costs low to fall within that 15%, and conserve my cash for working capital so that I can operate more efficiently, having lots of cash in hand to pay my bills on time, pay my staff, keep my government payments up to date. And what I see all too often is people not having enough equipment, and then when they do make purchases, they try to take it all out of the bank because they're afraid to owe money. That just causes you to work inefficiently, and you end up operating at much lower annual revenue because you don't have the equipment. The equipment is the enabler of growth. So I see it as the biggest lever to pull that most people just are afraid to pull. And that might be heavy equipment on install, buying big pushers instead of little snow plows if you're in the snow business. In any regard, leverage makes all the difference on labor, and labor is your biggest expense.
Let me just ask you this. The really common, I think, mindset with contractors, which is like, it's almost like people want to say, they want to brag, oh, hey, I paid for the truck in cash. I paid for all this gear in cash. Is that just like kind of a naive and like immature mindset towards this? Is that like, have you heard that before? Where does that come from? And are you basically saying, let's just dispel that attitude altogether?
I mean, I can't say it any more clearly than this. It's ridiculous to buy your equipment with your cash. In business, you lever your money. When these equipment companies and truck companies, manufacturers, are out giving us leasing at below market rates, and you're taking your cash and you're putting it into equipment, that is the worst investment that you could possibly make. And the reality is you'll work your whole life and you will never get ahead based on a fleet of equipment in the yard. What you're trying to build is enterprise value. And enterprise value has nothing to do with how much you owe a leasing company or the bank. Enterprise value has everything to do with profitability. And when you have the right equipment for the job, and when you've structured your financing within an annual budget, then you can have the confidence to go buy the right equipment for the job, work efficiently, and increase your revenue per day. Oftentimes when people ask me, like, how did you have the highest revenue per hour in the industry, or at least on the top 100 list? And the reason for that was because we invested heavy in equipment. My equipment ratio sat in that 16 to 17% range, but my labor consistently sat sub 20, which is very rare in the industry. We would always be able to install a lot of material really fast because we had bigger, better equipment, or in some cases, even the most compact equipment. And because of that, our labor, or our people, were putting materials in so much faster that the revenue that they were producing each hour was double what most companies are able to do. I think equipment is the lever that we need to pull to get an efficiency out of people, but most business owners are so shy that they never get there because they see everything as debt instead of seeing it as a lever.